Hey again! In this lesson we are going to learn how to ink our cards. The brush we are going to use is the same as the one we used for sketching. We'll set the opacity at 100 and we'll keep the flux according to the pressure. That way we'll have a softer stroke that will give us the feeling that it's old, unlike vector strokes. Guys, you'll find the brush I'm using attached to the course, in case you want to use the same. In any case, if you modify the Photoshop basic brushes, you can get interesting strokes. You can also download the ones you need from the internet or create your own brushes. You can see that the stroke I'm using to ink the card is always the same, that is, the modulation is the same. Every stroke has the same width, or almost the same one, to make it look similar to the original. Here I have a picture of the original card, which is right here, to see where the shadow has been applied. It's like a reference when inking. I'm going to have it during the inking process of all of the cards, just to have a reference for the lines. As you can observe here, when applying the shadows, what I'm doing is making straight strokes for the whole drawing. In this case, the advantage of having the reference of the locks on the previous card. Therefore, I'll apply the shadows in the same direction. Another aspect to consider when applying the shadows is to keep more or less the same volume of the form. That is, if the curve goes inwards, then we have to make the lines curve to the inside. However, we have to bear in mind that the straight lines are going to give the drawing an austere look, and it will be closer to the Tarot of Marseille style. Guys, play around with different techniques until you find the one that you like and which is between your own style and the Tarot of Marseille one. In my case, as you can see, the line is a bit thicker than the original picture, but I prefer this way since the cards we are creating have a cartoonish style. Cartoonish means that the drawing tends to have like a cartoon style with a funny twist. And this is something that we can reflect on our drawings by using thick strokes. When inking the letters, if you're going to do it by hand, you'll have to keep the same pen pressure to get the same width. If you want to use, for example, a preset typography, then you need to look for something that fits the drawing style you are doing. Look for other Tarot of Marseille cards and see what font they have. That way you can use the same. For inking in Photoshop, what we do is lower the opacity of the sketch and create a new layer above it. In this new layer, we're going to make the inking. Guys, if you don't want to get lost, I recommend that you lock the layer of the sketch. When this layer is locked, a lock icon appears to the right, and it means that we can't work on that layer. It's really useful since we won't mess around and ruin it. It's important to make all the inking process on a single layer, and that way we won't have any problem when inking and applying the color. In this type of cards, which are very different from the original ones, as we don't have any reference at all of the tower or the characters falling down from it, we have to make up the perspective and the shadow lines. Once you are done with the inking, you'll simply have to remove the display of the sketch and continue with the next one. Name all the layers to know what you've done in each of them, and you'll avoid getting confused when applying the color. Regarding the inking of this last card, we have a reference of the original in this case, which is the jar. Guys, if you need a reference to ink, it's okay. In case you're a little lost, it's always good to have a reference. But if you're now used to this style, you can do it without references as I'm doing. Try to draw all the strokes with the same width to make them look all of the same series. If you make one stroke in one card and in the next you make it thinner or wider, the difference will be quite visible. So please have this in mind. If you need to draw straight lines but you don't know how to make them, I recommend that you use the line tool. Draw a line and then ink it by hand following the reference. That way, you'll get a straight line but with a freehand effect. Okay, perfect. Here I've made a mistake in this card when I was doing the sketch, specifically the word temperance. So I'm going to fix it in the inking process. To make the frames of the cards, what we are going to do is use these straight lines as references to ink them freehand in another layer. That way, the style we'll get is more like a drawing. When illustrating, it's important to have everything in harmony. If we use straight lines in comparison with freehand lines, we'll have a visual problem. It won't match what we are seeing to what it should be. This also depends on the style you are using for the drawing, obviously. And here we have the 3 inked cards. In the next lesson, what we are going to do is applying the color following the Tarot of Marseille style. So I hope that you've liked this lesson. See you in the next one.